Hey everybody, it's me, Steve Schnee, the CD Junkie. I want to talk about bad parenting. I know it's a... Look, I just got to come clean. I'm a bad parent. My daughter is 34 years old, and she couldn't name all four Beatles' first and last name. And I don't think that I have been more disappointed in myself. You know, you might think, he's a bad YouTuber. No, I'm not. You might think, that guy's a bad worker. Nope. You might think, that guy's, he's a bad boy, if you know what I mean. No, I'm not. I'm just a bad parent. How could I raise a daughter whom I love dearly, who's really one of the smartest people I know, but she didn't know the Beatles' first and last names? And that hurts. Because I'm a music geek. I'm a music nerd. I even know their middle names. Now I'm thinking I'm creepy. But no, I'm the Beatles. Okay, you don't hear me talking about the Beatles a lot on my channel because everybody talks about the GD Beatles. It's not a new band. I just use GD because I don't like to say the dirty words here on my channel. Oh, I do like to say them, but I edit them out. But the Beatles, my favorite band of all time, absolutely bar none. In fact, they raised the bar so high. There are some angels with harps who can't play as good a song as the Beatles. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be, maybe I'm just angry with the world now because the Beatles, the friggin' Beatles. I've said, like I said just a few moments ago, and I'm going to say it again. The Beatles. My favorite band of all time. I just don't feel comfortable talking about the Beatles because everybody else does it so exquisitely and so eloquently. And me, I would just be going like, I really like A Long and Winding Road. It's pretty. But I love the Beatles. Lately, like the last couple months, I've been, when I go to bed, I get my little iPod Touch, and I decide, well, what folder am I going to listen to when I go to sleep? Okay. And I've got like 3 Beatles folders. I've got Beatles, which is just my favorite Beatles songs. Then I've got another folder, Beatles remixes, which is my favorite Beatles songs from those remixed albums. Now, I don't have those albums handy with me. I do have them up on the shelf in there, and I'll show them to you here. But, I have all the box sets with the alternate take stuff. But no, this particular folder is just the remixes. And then I have another folder for U.S. albums mixes, the Dave Dexter mixes. And I have 2 box sets of those that my dear friend Robert P. helped me get. And I love this stuff. I mean, love. When I put the headphones on, I fall asleep not because it's boring. I fall asleep because it's so calming and relaxing. You can even get something upbeat and crazy like Helter Skelter. I don't have that on the mix, so I'm just using that as an example. But it's because I've heard it so many times. And, I even paid $750 to get this version of Magical Mystery Tour that was printed upside down. There's only one in the world that was printed upside down, and I got it for $750. Can you believe that? Oh crap! I think I got ripped off. This is just a regular one that I was holding upside down. Well, either way, it's worth $750. This is an incredible band. Songs are just amazing. But you know what? I'm not a sycophant. I'm not the kind that goes like, oh, yeah, I really like flying because it's, this or that. Look, if I like flying, but if I didn't like it, I'd tell you I didn't like it. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the song Come Together. I cannot stand Old Brown Shoe. I cannot stand some songs. I mean, just pee friggin' you. I when me and my brother were kids, we would listen to the song Why Don't We Do It in the Road? But I thought it was like talking about going to the bathroom. Why don't we do it in the road? But I was like 5, 6, 7, 8, and we'd giggle, why don't we do it in the road? We didn't know what they were talking about. It's kind of embarrassing to think about now what they were talking about. Beatles didn't do that. They didn't go potty in the road, and they didn't do the voti odi odi in the road either. But this is such an amazing band, and I did not share this love of this music with my daughter. And I was thinking about that today because I started thinking, well, wait a minute. Okay, so how come I didn't play the Beatles around my daughter? I was married to her mother at the time, obviously, but we were playing a lot of the modern music at that point. When we had come together, we were listening to the new wave, Ultravox or Crowded House or Split Enz or, Tears for Fears, all that kind of stuff. And when Holly was born in 1990, we were still continuing playing that stuff. I don't remember if my first wife was a fan of the Beatles. So they just didn't get played a lot. Plus, I was on this kind of weird vibe. After John Lennon was killed, I couldn't listen to the Beatles for a long time. It was, like when Elvis died, I dived right back into the Elvis catalog. I only had a few albums out at that time. But when John Lennon died, I couldn't listen to the Beatles. I'd listen to stuff on the radio, but I just didn't want to pull out. I mean, maybe for a couple days pulling out, Double Fantasy or Shaved Fish or something. But after a while, I just couldn't listen to the Beatles. And I sort of shut them out for many, many years. I didn't actually get back into the Beatles. I mean, I was into the Beatles. I mean, we were listening to the Beatles when we were 3, 4, 5 years old. Because my parents were fans and my Aunt Lori was a big fan. And I stopped listening to the Beatles in about 1980. I was working retail at Licorice Pizza when the first Beatles CDs were coming out in 87. So I remember that, but I didn't buy them. In fact, I did not buy any Beatles music. I think for 29 years after John Lennon died. I heard it all the time everywhere. Friends would play it. You hear it on the radio. But I didn't buy anything until the remasters that came out in September of 2009. In fact, I have a compilation when those came out. This is a sampler, 2 CD sampler. I'm sure this is pretty common out there. And but that's a good collection of Beatles stuff. I had that, plus I bought all the additional CDs, including the upside down. No, it's not really upside down, but and it was interesting, to reconnect with the music. And over the years, I've definitely reconnected with all of it, But like I said, there are songs that I don't care for. Seriously, I do not care for "Come Together." It's not a bad song. Remember, I don't think much of this is a bad song. I mean, I won't listen to "Don't Pass Me By." Like I said, "Old Brown Shoe," and "For You Blue," I think is okay. "I Mean Mine's okay. "Within You, Without You." Geez, I seem to be naming off all George Harrison songs. I don't mean to, but it's just such a great, wonderful band. There's, Anybody who says that, oh, this band is overrated, oh, you're a liar. Oh my God. This is an amazing band. And I think that they deserve to be talked about everywhere. But just my channel is sort of devoted to talking about bands that not a lot of people know about. To my detriment, to the detriment of the popularity of my channel, I choose to talk about bands that don't get enough love out there. And I think that the Beatles get plenty of love out there. They've got the, documentary coming out. They've got all the 1964 mono albums coming out on vinyl. I pay attention to all this kind of stuff, and it's fantastic for the collectors. I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, it's a money grab, because guess what? The people, the fans, are willing to pay the money to get it. And it's special to them. And the Beatles deserve to be special. They deserve to be embraced, lovingly embraced. What they did for music, it'll never happen again. But they changed music. They did. The Beatles changed the way rock and roll was presented. Because up to the Beatles, a lot of the artists, most of the artists that sold, were artists that were not writing their own material. And if they were writing their own material, then maybe they weren't getting on the top of the charts. But all of a sudden, out comes this band, the Beatles, and they're writing their own material and doing covers as well. They're still paying homage to what influenced them. But my God, they were creating this wonderful art. And every album, it just showed growth. And not a lot of artists do that. But also not a lot of artists are allowed to do that. Back then when the Beatles did it, it was accepted. They were just getting better, better, better. Or they were at least changing. Because that from Sgt. Pepper to the White Album, it's a drastic difference. It's paring back, but still creating something new out of it. But artists today, if they make any type of change between album 1 and album 2, they get, bad reviews. Oh, sophomore slump. So you can't win in rock and roll today. If you make too much of a change, people are going to complain. If you don't make a change, people are going to complain. Look at the Stranglers. Their first 3 albums, they all sound pretty much the same. Great stuff. They all sound pretty much the same. Buzzcocks. Those 3 albums, it's all interchangeable. But then when they change, Buzzcocks didn't change. They broke up, and then Pete Shelley went off and did synth pop. But when the Stranglers changed on the 4th album, it was such a big radical difference from the first 3 albums that it was a shock to the system. But it was great. And then they kept changing with each album after that. Change is wonderful. The Beatles showed us that it can be done. There's a big difference between Not a Second Time and Getting Better or Hey Bulldog. It's amazing. And yes, I do love Long and Winding Road and Let It Be. People say they're overplayed. Guess what? I don't listen to the radio. Not overplayed in my house. Casa de Spaz, Casa de CD Junkie. Amazing band. I know that you all know that. But now I feel like a bad parent because my daughter doesn't know that. Maybe I should have said, you know what? Not so much Duran Duran in this household. Maybe a little bit more Beatles. I failed. Thank you for watching this video. Remember to like, comment, share, subscribe. Ring that bell for future notifications. And until the next time, remember me, I'm Steve Schnee, the CD Junkie.